make sure we're clear on that.
Thank you. Ms. McBath.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Whitaker, I'm completely aware that North Carolina and Georgia were dealing with similar problems with voter suppression, and I can actually tell you I witnessed voter suppression firsthand in Georgia, even as I was running in my own election. Is it fair to say that the department was not remotely interested in securing the elections in North Carolina, rather that its intent was abusing its subpoena powers and wielding its mandate to protect our elections in a thinly veiled effort to suppress minority elections and populations?
The Department of Justice is committed to upholding the voting rights of all Americans.
I understand that. But what I need you to clarify for me is what actions were taken for all of the voting rights to be upheld? Because you stated earlier, your statement earlier was that you were side by side with with Attorney General Sessions, advising him on all aspects of the department. Yet you don't know, but at this point you're saying you do not suspect that there was any voter suppression. So what I'm asking is that, do you not know of any voter suppression, or do you not know whether or not those laws are being enforced?
I don't believe I said that I'm not aware that there might have been voter suppression. Did I? Is that something you heard me say?
No, I'm just asking you, might it be the case that you were not aware of any voter suppression?
Well, the Department of Justice, I sit atop a massive organization, as you can imagine, and cases regarding voter suppression, voter fraud, or really any enforcement of the Voting Rights Act or other statutes is done by U.S. attorneys and FBI agents that are in the district doing those cases. And so it would be unusual that I would have specific knowledge about any of the evidence in those cases. So, obviously we do our cases free of political interference, and if there is evidence of, as you suggest, voter suppression, and we can predicate an investigation, that is something we will seriously look at.
So did the department assess the need for election monitors in the 2019 elections?
I think I mentioned in my opening statement that we sent out 35 Civil Rights Divisions teams to, I believe, 19 states, if I remember right. I might be wrong, and I'd refer you back to my statement, but we did send out election monitors from the Civil Rights Division.
Okay, because I was in Georgia, and I can tell you, I saw the problems, but I didn't see the election monitors. Did you send any that you were aware of?
As I sit here today, I do not know if Georgia received what I'm describing. Obviously, the Civil Rights Division would have determined where those assets could be deployed. I know in the 2004 election, when I was U.S. Attorney, the Civil Rights Division sent, I think, 3 or 4 lawyers to my office to monitor the elections in Des Moines. So I wouldn't be surprised that they did send election monitors to Georgia.
Well, I can tell you, I really think that we needed them, and I'm very disappointed in the numbers that we received. We needed far more help than we got. But also on February 1st, the committee sent you a letter asking again for information on the department's voting rights enforcement. And these questions were asked by members during the 115th Congress, but were never answered. Will you commit to providing this information for this committee?
We try to respond to all the letters we receive from Congress. Obviously, February 1st was, I believe, only a week or so ago. I've kind of lost track of what day it is. But yeah, I mean, we will look at that letter and we will respond consistent with the way we respond to requests from Congress. But I mean, these are important issues, and I share your concern about some of these places where there is alleged voter suppression. And I know that we are going to enforce the the Voting Rights Act robustly, and we will continue. Again, if there is evidence, we should get that to our FBI and the people that enforce these laws so we can properly predicate an investigation.
Okay, well, thank you for that, because if we don't get answers, I promise you we'll keep asking. Another question that I have is, let's see here. No. What steps did the department take to support election security efforts during the 2018 election? Specific efforts.
Are you talking about the actual voting devices?
Yes.
Or the responsibility for the security of the voting devices and machines is actually the responsibility of the Department of Homeland Security.
Can you tell this committee what those responsibilities were, those steps that were actually taken? Because I can tell you, there were many, many instances in Georgia, we saw over and over again, where people were not allowed to vote.
The time of the gentlelady has expired. The witness may answer the question.
Again, if there's specific evidence that crimes have been committed, we would be very interested in that at the Department of Justice.
Thank you.